Anyways, y'all, welcome back. In the next clip, you're gonna hear me saying like a brief intro, kind of just confirming what I had said. I took the clip out now at the beginning of the last video, the avoiding drama in the gym video. I was gonna make this video here and add on to that video. But when I merged all the clips together, it was a whole 4.5 hours worth of content, and I tried to stay away from making videos that are that long. I do have a few on this channel, but I really try not to have videos that are that long because it's but so long somebody really wants to sit and listen to content. I do have people that come back and finish my video, so I appreciate it. But I try to steer away from super long videos, and that last video was already too long. It was a whole 2 hours and 50 minutes long. And then at the beginning, I had added this clip in, saying that I would be adding this video here to the end. And I actually did do it. And like I said, it was just way too long, y'all. So that's what you're going to hear me saying in the next clip. I know if you watched the last video or you just finished, not the last video, I know if you just finished watching the beginning part of this video, you'll have heard me say that I was adding this to the end of the video, blah, blah, blah. You're going to hear that in the next clip. That's what I was referencing, so you're not confused. It was the fact that this was supposed to be an add-on to the last video that I just posted, the avoiding gym drama video. It's too long, so I'm just making it to its own separate video. So just don't be confused with the next, after this clip, the next 3 minute and 48 second, I believe, clip. That's what I'm talking about. There was a plan to merge the videos, and I decided to not to do it. So anyways, y'all, let me do my typical intro then, because I didn't do it because I thought this was going to be connected to that last video. So welcome to my channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Sharifa and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new, please check out the links located in the description box and comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links. There's a section and a group of links that lead to several different videos where I tell my story of how I became a targeted individual. There are, like I said, several different options. Some videos are more condensed and contain less details, and other videos expound a little bit more on certain things. But they're all the same. Not exactly the same. It's the same story, just told differently. Like I said, some versions are shorter, more condensed, summarized, and other versions I expound on things a little bit further. I've been a target since 2020, y'all. But I didn't learn that I was a target until the end of 2022. So check out those links and hear my story, y'all, so you can be familiar with some of the things I say in these recent videos, because I do reference the situation often. Also, other links that you'll find, y'all, are links that lead to videos that share pertinent information about the targeted individual program, information about the tactics used on targets, and the technology used on targets. I have several different videos on this channel, y'all, that help to educate newer targets or people that aren't targeted that want to know about the community and some of the things that targets have to endure. Really important info, y'all, pertinent stuff that I wish I knew earlier on in my targeting. Please check out that info, y'all. I have a plethora of info on the channel. That's what those links are about. So check it out. Like I said, welcome to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all, this is ridiculous how many pre-recordings are attached to this video. You're going to hear 2 separate clips after this one that are pre-recordings to the actual video. So in total, including this clip, there are going to be 3 pre-recordings or 3 clips that aren't a part of the actual video itself that are going to be attached to the video. This whole video is one compilation of several clips, but the first 3 clips, including this one, are actually add-ons, that I made after making the actual video. So y'all, in the next 2 clips, you're going to hear, what it was that I wanted to add to the video. And in this clip, I'm just letting you know this is like a couple days now, a few days, after making the actual video, right, that you're going to hear after the next 2 clips. But something happened today at work, right, that I wanted to document, y'all. So it's reactive abuse. That's going to be at the end of this video. I'm already hearing snickering. You know, it's just like on top of you like animals, man. I just can't take it. With the gang stalking, you know, just like sitting there staring at you all day long, like you're an animal. You know, like everyone has access to these cameras, and it was proven too because after something happened today, and I was just walking to have lunch, I'm hearing ref campaign out in the road, in the main road, just all day long staring at you like you're not a human, like an animal. You know, it's really, this is a satanic program, you know. Anyway, I'm gonna be careful though about what I'm saying. You know, it's like, you know, obviously I want my job, but it's like, it's to a level where it's just like really abusive. So what's happened here? Like, to the point, I'm gonna tell you what happened today, man. I'm gonna tell you. Anyway, it's just like, it's hard when you're targeted because it's like certain things are happening. You know, like you need the job. You have to survive. But it's just like some things are so low and bad. What happens? It's just like, oh my God. Anyway, so, if y'all want to hear what happened today at work, stick around. Check out the whole video because this is a full documentation of reactive abuse and just constant antagonization of the targeted individual. And then eventually, you know, the reactive abuse reaction that you have, right? So it's the reaction to the abuse. And then you get gaslit and painted like a monster. That's how the thing works. So this whole video really is about reactive abuse. You know, some things that have been taking place at the gym that led to some nasty reactions. And then at the end of the video, you're going to hear what happened today at work. So I'm just letting you know, stick around, right? Because it's a full video of me talking about like this ongoing drama in the gym. And then at the end of the video, you're going to hear what happened today at work. I can't give too many details. I have to be careful because like I said, it's just one of those things where I just can't. It's like confidentiality to a certain extent, but I'm going to try in the best way possible to tell you what happened, you know, to explain what happened. It's just crazy. All right. I'll talk to y'all. Sorry that I sound tired and dragged down, y'all. It's a full week of just, it's Friday. I'm tired. I'm PMSing. It's just a lot, y'all. That's why I sound like this. I am so sorry, but please stick through the whole video, y'all. And like I said, if you stick around to the end, you'll hear what happened to me today at work. That's separate to the actual video where I'm talking about this ongoing drama in the gym. Anyways, talk to y'all. Peace out. Y'all, in the next clip, you're going to hear me say that it would make the rumor seem lucrative. I didn't mean lucrative. I meant to say legit. So definitely used the wrong word there. And I caught it right away when I listened back. I'm tired, y'all. Anyways, thanks. Bye. All right, y'all. So if you've either stuck around for the whole video and made it to this part, or you decided to fast forward to this part just to hear what happened today at work, at my job, then I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that that's what's going to be said here now. Y'all, I'm tired. Like I told you in the beginning of the video, the first clip talked about this part of the video here, where I'm going to be talking about what happened at work today. So I told y'all I was tired. I'm still tired. You know, this is directly after making that first clip that you heard. I'm now making this video. So I'm sorry, y'all, if I sound tired and I feel I'm having my period. Like I said, feeling sluggish. I'm tired. It's been a whole week of working 2 jobs and being targeted, and it's a lot. I'm exhausted. So anyways, I kind of want to talk about what happened at work today and yesterday. Because it was just like polar opposites the days. You know, it was literally, and they sent it to at lunch. It's so hilarious how immediately with the shadow networking AI software, they instantly simulate. And when I say simulate, start to send basically sensitization and subliminal messaging to mirror what's going on in your life at the moment. Like if you just had a reaction with a gang stalker, for instance, you might get shadow networking, right? A video with subliminal messaging alluding to what just took place. It's this weird thing with the technology and with this program. It's like some high science stuff, man. We're in some weird times, I'm telling you. That's the real weird thing. Strange stuff, y'all. Strange stuff. I don't have to say it though. If you're targeted, you already know, right? Your eyes are starting to open and you're starting to realize some of the things that exist in this world. It's like, it's such a scary way to find out too. Via targeting, it's just such a nightmare. But anyway, so let me start with the beginning of the day because I started getting gaslit. This is what makes me make the videos, you know. when I have a reaction, right, it'll be to sensitization, something that I've been obviously programmed to, right? Like they'll I've talked about this in several videos, y'all, how they program you and they create false narratives, and they'll, with the shadow networking software, pound in whatever it is, whatever they're trying to sensitize you to all day long. Like, let's say, for instance, they're trying to make you believe that you stink. This is just an example because that's something that's going on in my targeting. I assure you I don't. I bathe several times in the day. I brush my teeth in the morning. I stick my tongue out. You can see not even a drop of plaque on my tongue. My tongue is completely pink. I have a breathalyzer test, y'all, I'm planning to take this weekend, and that's going to be in the video where I'm actually on camera. So look out for that. I'll be making that either tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But anyways, y'all, it's just a tactic being used on me. But let me use that as an example. If they're trying to program you and make you feel like you stink, they can constantly, with the shadow networking software, send subliminal messaging about people that smell bad, right? And then in person, you'll get in-person gang-stalking and programming, where everywhere you go, people will act like you stink. So eventually you get programmed and sensitized to that narrative. So even if it's not true, you start to, it's almost like that becomes your reality, and the word might even pop in your head. You might even start moving like you stink. Like someone's coming next to you and you're shrinking back like you don't want them to smell you, even though you know you don't stink. It's this crazy thing with the targeting. Or, like the word stink will pop in your head when someone comes close to you. It's just weird. It's programming. That's just an example of it, right? Jesus Christ. I'm not meaning to say that. When my dad's not home now, when I start the video, he comes home. I'm just complaining because, remember, my room is attached to the front porch. So he's going to have to take his time coming into the house and all this, and you're going to hear the noise on the porch. And I really wanted to talk about what happened today. Anyway, it was a very loaded day and several things happened that I want to talk about. So I'm going off on a tangent anyway. That kind of brought me back, right? So the point is you get programmed to certain things and then you have reactions and you get gaslit about it. So for instance, now, like I said, I gave you the example of the stink thing. Now, let's say I go to talk to somebody and this is something that they're actively doing. Like, not everyone, but a lot of people, enough people to make the narrative seem lucrative. You stand next to someone and they're acting like you stink, right? And that's the thing that a lot of people are doing. Eventually you start to act sensitized, right? Like I said, because you've been programmed. And so you might go next to someone and before they even pinch their nose or act like you stink, you're shrinking back like you smell bad. And then you do that and then they rev by, or they'll fly the insect drone in your face. That's what I'm talking about. That's an example. That's just an example I'm giving you of sensitization and then them gaslighting you about it. This has happened to me with several different narratives. The home wrecker thing, it's happened with the stink thing, it's happened with the false narrative that was created from the text message, etc., etc. So several times, even at work, they've flown the mosquito in my face because I had a reaction. Y'all, let me end the clip and I'll finish the video after my dad gets in the house and everything. Yeah, y'all, like I was saying, several times at work, and not even just at work, in general, I have a reaction to sensitization about one of the false narratives. And then they'll start flying the insect drone in my face, or I'll hear rev campaign in the background, gaslighting me about this PTSD reaction I'm having to programming. So something like that happened today at work. That's the first thing I want to talk about. Can't, like I said, say too much info because, it's sensitive subject matter and confidential. So I'm not going to go into the particular of the court case, of course not, or the inmate that was having the court case, but it's specifically what I saw on the screen, right? And what caused the reaction. So let's lay out this scenario for you, right? Because it's like a freaking circus act, freak show. And then I get gaslit about the fact that I'm acting traumatized when I see sensitization and I know I'm being stared at by all these people. It's just ludicrous to me. Anyway, so as you all know, right now I'm a cadet in training to become a corrections officer. So I'm in the training phase and I have to shadow different officers until police academy. And I've talked about in prior videos how difficult that's been as a target, especially a target with my personality. It's like a double whammy. It's like I'm extremely introverted. I actually have Asperger's, so it's not just regular introversion. I have Asperger's. I'm on the spectrum, and then I'm targeted. So the level of, like, I can't even explain the level of exertion it takes just for me to get through a day, especially knowing that I'm being stared at on camera 24/7. I actually sometimes am fidgeting in my seat. I get this weird look on my face. I feel when it's happening because I feel like a circus animal. I feel like an animal in a cage at the freaking circus. This is what I feel like. I know everyone's staring at me, including the person that I'm sitting with. Like, I know that the officer I'm sitting with is staring at me. It's just this weird thing. I can't even explain it. I hate it. I hate being targeted. Anyway, you're acting strange in ways you wouldn't even act if you weren't being stared at. And then, the person will think that you're weird when it's like, I know I'm being stared at by all these people. That's what's making me move weird like this or look strange. I can feel myself being stared at. I don't move like that normally. Anyway, so I'm not even trying to go off on that, y'all. It's just like frustration built up. I'm PMSing too. Anyway, so today I was in obviously one of the different areas in the facility, and I ended up sitting through a court case. Sometimes they'll do virtual court with one of the inmates, and on the TV screen, they'll do like a Microsoft Teams video call, right? With the judge and the courtroom, and you'll have the inmate and an officer in the room at the facility. So they've allowed me to sit in there and shadow a few of these court cases. I did it before, and I did it again today, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm shadowing the court case, right? And as soon as the screen comes on, I recognize the face instantly. I see who the judge is. I see judge. I said, Judge, I took the shades off. I know they saw me do this. And I did a double take because I realized that the judge goes to the gym with me. I didn't even know that lady was a judge. You see how dangerous it is to have these crazy reactions, and how you could even get set up and piss off somebody that's really, in a high position and not even realize, not that it matters. It doesn't matter who the person is, really and truly. You just have to be careful about your reactions in general. But these reactions to targeting and antagonization could literally lead to you like making some serious enemies, or not. Let me not say serious enemies. That's not what I mean to say. I'm saying the wrong thing. I'm saying nonsense. That's what I meant to say. Burning some very lucrative bridges. You know what I mean? Like, or getting in problems, like pissing someone off you don't want to piss off. So, I didn't mean to say enemies. I'm saying the wrong thing. I'm tired, y'all. So here's what happened. Thank God I didn't have a reaction with this judge. Thank God that was when I was in the mode of don't react. Stop being reactive. Thank God. Thank the Most High. So y'all will have heard I don't remember which video it was, right? Let me scroll down and see if I can see which video. It was one of these recent, I think it was actually the last video, the villainization of the targeted individual. I think it was that video. Either that one or the part 2 targeted individual PTSD and reactive abuse. One of those 2 videos, y'all. I was talking about this older guy in the gym. First of all, I was telling y'all that, for the last month now at this point, it's been about a month of them doing this. It's this new tactic where whenever I go on the Smith machine, people are actively, like, purposefully blocking me while I'm trying to squat. It's not like just regular, like you're just passing by, and you're grabbing something and I gotta wait. It's a gym that we have to share. It's like purposefully loud. They know that I'm using the mirror. They'll purposely stand in the mirror and just stand there idly or pretend like they're stretching or, just petty stuff like to block the mirror on purpose. And so I started talking about it in my videos and they started doing it more. Anyway, so it's just kind of become this thing in there, especially after things started unfolding. You just heard the video, so you heard what happened with the trainer, the guy, right? Especially when things started unfolding with him and I insulted him. That's when things really started to take a real ominous turn in there. It started getting real gnarly up in there because he's friends with everyone in there. He's a trainer in there, and I think he's been in there for years. Anyway, so I was telling on whichever video it was that I just referenced. I'm not sure which video it was. One of those 2 videos I just referenced. I was telling y'all that one of the gangs, he's not a gang stalker. He actually goes to the gym. He's a real gym goer, this older guy. He's one of those older guys that, like look like they think they're young. I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's the vibe I get from him. Like, he has cornrows. He has gray hair. You can tell he works out. He takes care of his body. But he's all gray. You can tell he's older. He looks like he's in his mid to late 50s. Older, but one of them like guys that like still trying to look good. I can't explain it. So he's keeping up with himself, right? But he's still an older man, you can tell, right? So I've seen him in the gym since the beginning of last year when I first started working out in the gym. I've seen him off and on. throughout my time of working out there, but it's not like an all the time or consistent thing. But he's one of the common faces I see in the gym. Never had issues with him, right? This thing happened, like I said, with this guy, the trainer guy. And like a lot of them in there are now kind of getting involved in the shenanigans with the mirror and the Smith machine. So he's one of them that decided to get involved. And I talked about it in, like I said, one of those videos I just referenced, where one night it was after I had that nasty reaction to the guy and I said father time or whatever, what I talked about in the prior clips, when he and the other guy were blocking the mirror and he was acting like he was recording the dude lifting the dumbbells, trying to be petty. And I ended up like hurling an insult in my head after I had kind of bit my tongue about the stupidness they were doing. When they started doing that, I finally said, man, they're so lame. One has the face of father time and one looks like he hasn't been in the gym in a while, right? I explained in the earlier clips why I said that, right? Anyway, like the time after that session at the gym, when I went to the gym the next time, this older guy was there, the same guy I'm talking about now, right? And I was using the leg press machine and my music stopped up. You remember I told you they're doing this thing where they're pausing my playlist, this weird thing, they're hacking my thing, and only on Audio Mac. They're not able to do it with my other music app. They paused the thing, right? They actually threw a song that wasn't on my playlist on, a weird song that said Polaroid, right? And they knew what they were doing too. They know that things are kind of hostile in the gym right now for me. They know I'm targeted. They're going to put a stupid ass song about, why can't I fit in? It was Drake saying some stupid, dumb, dreary bullshit. But why can't I fit in? As if I'm some sort of, victimized, bully victim and not targeted. This is what they try to do. They try to isolate you and then gaslight you and make you feel like you're this weird, anomalous thing when you're a regular human that never had issues and you're just targeted. This is what they do. They play these little mind games, the psychological warfare. But anyway, so I just rolled my eyes and I went to take it off and put my playlist back on. So in the meantime, obviously nothing was playing and I could hear what was being said around me. So I hear somebody saying, yeah, she looks like she really likes to eat. Or he looks like he's talking about somebody. They like to eat. Saying it hard, super hard, right? So I was like, what the heck? Who's doing that? Because remember, I told you recently they started doing that again. That was something they started doing last year to perpetuate the false narrative, the nastiness from the text message. It's a perverted thing when they use that sensitization because it's alluding to me being gay, basically. And you know what females do. Obviously, I wouldn't know about it. So that's what they're referencing with the eat thing. So it's just really perversive, especially when you think about the narrative and that it's stemming from the text message, which has something to do with a child. It's really like, what the heck? So anyways, he was going ham and there were two ladies standing with him while he was singing. And I actually didn't really care about the ladies because even though they're like, yeah, they're agreeing with him, they weren't really saying it the way he was. He was the one who was saying the thing aggressively. That so-and-so looks like they like to eat. I'm just so glad I didn't come for the whole group of people and I just was mainly focused on him because the judge was one of the ladies standing with him going, yeah, And so I was just like, I didn't even know this lady was a judge. I just thought it was another regular face in the gym and she looks older too, maybe around his age. I don't know, 50s, maybe mid 50s, late 50s. I didn't focus on the females because, and I don't want to say females, that sounds disrespectful, but I wasn't focusing on the woman standing with him because even though they were agreeing with what he said, they weren't saying, he was the one aggressively saying, eat, so he was who I honed in on. So I started going off in my head. I said, what kind of nastiness is this? I said, whatever I said, I documented it in one of these videos, the reaction it had, reactive abuse. I was like, you look like you like to eat. I said, big old man like that saying perverted stuff like that. I said, what the heck is going on? I started going off in my head about it. If I had known that was a judge standing with him, I wouldn't have even, I would have tried not to have a reaction, as irritating as that is. I'm not trying to, I don't want problems. I had no idea that was a whole judge in the gym there, floating around, while I'm having these reactions. That's freaking scary. I'm just thank God I didn't have a reaction with her. I was thank God, man. Anyway, so I started going off. I didn't say anything too disrespectful because he is older. And I already said this before, with the older gang-stalkers, I try to hold my tongue and bite my tongue. I said, if you're in your 50s, you could still get it. But if you look like you're late 50s or older, I really do try to hold my tongue. He looks at the age, about the age where you could still kind of get it from me if it's bad enough what you're saying. But, thank God I didn't really go to it, and I really didn't. I didn't at all. I just was he looked like he liked to eat. I was he's so old and he's saying disrespectful stuff like that. I said, what the heck is wrong with him? What kind of perverted stuff is that? And so I thought that. I didn't say it. And then I moved over to the leg extension machine at the other side of the gym. And I said, you see, this is what we talking about. I'm just coming in here to mind my business and work out. And I have to deal with this type of stuff. And I said, and then I have a reaction. They'll gaslight me about it. I was thinking all that in my head. I didn't say it verbally, but they can hear my thoughts. So then I left, and I came back, obviously, another time. The next time I came back, he was still trying to block up the mirror and doing stuff. And he was working out with this other young dude that I see in there sometimes. And the judge. And they were all three of them kind of moving back and forth slowly in front of the mirror. But it was, again, mainly him. But the judge at one point in time stood in front of the mirror and she just stood there. Right? And she's watching him do the bench presses and stuff. So at this point, I had already had a prep talk with myself. And I said, the next time I go back to the gym, I'm not going to be having a reaction. I said, I don't care who blocks the mirror. I'm not going to have a nasty reaction. I think the most I had that talk with myself. That had to be the most I. Because I'm not going to have a nasty reaction. I'm just going to ask them politely to please excuse. So I told her, I waved at her, I said, hey, can you please excuse me? And I kind of just did this with my hand. I said, can you please excuse me? I need to look in the mirror, see myself while I'm doing the squats. And she said, okay, are you okay? I said, yes, I'm okay. And she said, okay. And then she looked at me the kind of way and she moved slowly. And I didn't have a nasty reaction. I just continued to do my thing. But I didn't know that she was a judge. So I saw her on the screen this morning. She was the judge for the inmate. And then the marshal in there was the bald guy that I mentioned earlier in the video. Remember I told you there were two guys in the back with the trainer's new girlfriend and they were bigging up her head and trying to purposely do some sort of psychological thing with me. It's kind of like a lick back for him. I saw one of the bald dude I was talking about. He's a marshal and he was in the court too. So this is what caused the basity reaction. This is why I was sitting there acting basity and I couldn't catch myself. Because they're flying the fly back and forth and gaslighting me and trying to create something from it. So that's what it was, y'all. It was like a PTSD response to sensitization because, I recognized two of the officials that were on the screen. And not only that, where I recognized them from is now a place that I associate with gang-stalking in a way. And also the judge in particular, I associate her with a gang-stalking moment with that guy she was with. And the gang stalking he was doing tied back to the false narrative. So as she's, given the rundown to, these different inmates and stuff, and I'm hearing the charges, or not even necessarily the charges, because none of the charges were relative to that false narrative. But when she would say things like, you need to stay away from the victim and have no contact, all of that was just making me so uncomfortable. And then it also, too, reminded me when I first got back on island in 2022, when I tried to relocate. Remember, before I knew I was a target. In 2022, I had resigned, I told you all this already, from teaching and whatever else I was doing. I was a security guard. I resigned summer of 2020 and I tried to relocate. I didn't know it would follow me. I didn't know I was a target. I just thought it was some stupidness that started happening here on island because the text message I sent. And I realized 2 years had passed and the thing wasn't stopping. So that's what made me quit my job. The two jobs I had a good job. I was a teacher, man. Quit it, resigned it, because I was like, I could just get another teaching job easy. I didn't know what was in store. I didn't know what was coming. I had no clue. So I tried to relocate. The thing followed me. Y'all know the story. You know the rundown. So I ended up coming back here on island. And when I got back on island, I had this court case for one of the car accidents I had gotten into prior to leaving island. And in this court case, it was a virtual court case because this was around COVID time. Restrictions were just starting to lift up a little bit when I had first got back on island from trying to relocate. Remember when I got back to the island, things had gone viral at that point. The targeting had blown up in the mainland. So things were way different when I got back to island. The targeting was way more widespread, right? Sorry about that, y'all. I had someone in my close circle knock on my door. Anyway, so the targeting, like I said, was widespread. When I got back on island in 2022, it had already started spreading when I tried to relocate. That was largely why I tried to relocate. It was a whole different thing when I got back, man. So many people were involved, and I had all these offensive reactions. So the targeting was at a higher level. It was just crazy, man. And I had this court case for one of the car accidents I had gotten into prior to leaving Island. And so it was a virtual court case, like I said in the last clip, and similar to what was happening today at work. So this moment here was so reminiscent of that time. And in this court case, I was supposed to be sitting in the court case with one of the ladies that I had gotten in the car accident with, right? And so I was waiting for my turn, and similar to like what happened earlier, while you wait, you can sit through one of the other cases. That's what tends to happen, especially when it's these virtual court cases. And so I think that they intentionally did this because this was before I had told my story. This was after me coming back from having all those anxious reactions in my car in Florida, and them using the shadow networking software on me to paint the false narrative about the text message. So the perception was that I had actually done this thing. So I remember I was sitting there waiting for my court case to happen. And they, I think purposefully, but I don't want to bear false witness, had a court case happen before mine where the guy had sexually assaulted someone, a minor, right? So he's on house arrest, and they're just reading the particulars of, whatever it is, whatever his punishment is, or at the moment, I guess, what he would be. What's the word I'm looking for? You know how sometimes before you have the actual court case, you sit in jail, or under house arrest or whatever, wherever they have you. Sometimes it's house arrest. Sometimes you sit in jail until your court case. This is what was happening. They were basically just reading to him when his court case would be, what his charges were, etc., and what he would have to do until the court case. And so they were telling him basically that, the charges were he has sexually assaulted a minor, and he was to have no contact with the victim, and that he was to stay on house arrest, basically until the court case. So I remember at that time I was still having the anxious reactions, and every time they were talking about no contact with the victim, I remember back then I was shaking and trembling and this and that, and it was just a nightmare. It was a real nightmare. I hadn't told my story yet or anything. So all of that was going on in there today. Every time they weren't even talking about sexual assault, not so that I can even specify what they were talking about. I have to tread lightly. This is all confidential. I'm not specifying what the cases were about. It's not about the inmate or their case. It's about my reaction to seeing the judge on the screen and some of the things that were said that caused this anxious reaction. Meanwhile, I'm very keenly aware of the fact that I'm being stared at by the whole island like it's a freaking telenovela or some sort of circus freak act, like I keep saying, and then getting gaslit about having anxious reactions to sensitization and programming. It's just ludicrous to me. So anyways, so all of that was just making me awkward, man. I'm seeing this judge that I saw in the gym with the guy that was saying the eat thing. Every time she's saying to the different, not inmates, but detainees, every time she's discussing what the restrictions are until their court case or their hearing, she's telling them, stay away from the victim. And every time she's saying that, I'm just getting so freaking bassety and awkward because it's reminding me of 2022 when I came back and I sat in that court case. It was just a mess. I was just acting awkward, and they kept flying the mosquito in my face and just having a field day with the thing, man. And of course, everyone watching is like, like taking that moment and sucking it in. And I know that for a fact too, because then, not to fast forward through the day, I'm going to tell you everything that happened today because it's like 3 different things I want to talk about. This is just the first thing. At the end of the day, when I finally left and I was sitting there, I was watching, waiting for my ride to pick me up. I was watching, one of them videos on YouTube, and they were, of course, sensitizing me and using shadow networking. They started talking about abuse. They weren't even talking about sexual abuse. They just mentioned the word abuse. I hear ref campaign and the fly flying in my face. So I said, I know they couldn't be gaslighting me about the PTSD reaction I had today when I was sitting through that hearing. I hear revving and I hear a door close behind me. I said, are you kidding me? I said, you're sensitizing me because I saw a judge that I recognize that goes to my gym, and I started to say whatever I was saying in my head, and they started to quiet down. But this is how the thing works, man. No disrespect to the judge. Of course not. No disrespect. I'm just trying to explain why I had the reaction I had. This is what leads to these videos. It's always defending myself. It's either that I had some nasty reaction to antagonization all day long, and I finally reacted and then I'm getting gaslit about it, or I had a PTSD anxious reaction and I'm getting gaslit about it. That's what these videos are about, and then I get gaslit about the videos. Anyway, so that's that. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about was, I'm trying to think because it's like two other things I wanted to talk about that happened. This is one, the coup de grace boy. This thing with an inmate, and I have to be careful again. I won't go into the details, too many details about it. I'm just going to say what he was saying. It was three things. It's three things. That's right. Yeah, it was two different things. One inmate detainee that came in, and then a detainee that's been in the jail. Y'all, I'm hearing some weird stuff outside.
I would tell you stop, and then I would hear you.
Sorry about that, y'all. I had someone in my close circle knock on my door. Anyway, so the targeting, like I said, was widespread. When I got back on island in 2022, it had already started spreading when I tried to relocate. That was largely why I tried to relocate. It was a whole different thing when I got back, man. So many people were involved, and I had all these offensive reactions. So the targeting was at a higher level. It was just crazy, man. And I had this court case for one of the car accidents I had gotten into prior to leaving island. And so it was a virtual court case, like I said in the last clip, and similar to what was happening today at work. So this moment here was so reminiscent of that time. And in this court case, I was supposed to be sitting in the court case with one of the ladies that I had gotten in the car accident with, right? And so I was waiting for my turn, and similar to like what happened earlier, while you wait, you can sit through one of the other cases. That's what tends to happen, especially when it's these virtual court cases. And so I think that they intentionally did this because this was before I had told my story. This was after me coming back from having all those anxious reactions in my car in Florida, and them using the shadow networking software on me to paint the false narrative about the text message. So the perception was that I had actually done this thing. So I remember I was sitting there waiting for my court case to happen, and they, I think purposefully, but I don't want to bear false witness, had a court case happen before mine where the guy had sexually assaulted someone, a minor, right? So he's on house arrest, and they're just reading the particulars of, whatever it is, whatever his punishment is, or at the moment, I guess, what he would be. What's the word I'm looking for? You know how sometimes before you have the actual court case, you sit in jail or under house arrest or whatever, wherever they have you. Sometimes it's house arrest. Sometimes you sit in jail until your court case. This is what was happening. They were basically just reading to him when his court case would be, what his charges were, etc., and what he would have to do until the court case. And so they were telling him basically that, the charges were he has sexually assaulted a minor, and he was to have no contact with the victim, and that he was to stay on house arrest, basically until the court case. So I remember at that time I was still having the anxious reactions, and every time they were talking about no contact with the victim, I remember back then I was shaking and trembling and this and that, and it was just a nightmare. It was a real nightmare. I hadn't told my story yet or anything. So all of that was going on in there today. Every time they weren't even talking about sexual assault, not so that I can even specify what they were talking about. I have to tread lightly. This is all confidential. I'm not specifying what the cases were about. It's not about the inmate or their case. It's about my reaction to seeing the judge on the screen and some of the things that were said that caused this anxious reaction. Meanwhile, I'm very keenly aware of the fact that I'm being stared at by the whole island like it's a freaking telenovela or some sort of circus freak act, like I keep saying, and then getting gaslit about having anxious reactions to sensitization and programming. It's just ludicrous to me. So anyways, so all of that was just making me awkward, man. I'm seeing this judge that I saw in the gym with the guy that was saying the eat thing. Every time she's saying to the different, not inmates, but detainees, every time she's discussing what the restrictions are until their court case or their hearing, she's telling them, stay away from the victim. And every time she's saying that, I'm just getting so freaking bassety and awkward because it's reminding me of 2022 when I came back and I sat in that court case. It was just a mess. I was just acting awkward, and they kept flying the mosquito in my face and just having a field day with the thing, man. And of course, everyone watching is like, like taking that moment and sucking it in. And I know that for a fact too, because then, not to fast forward through the day, I'm going to tell you everything that happened today because it's like 3 different things I want to talk about. This is just the first thing. At the end of the day, when I finally left and I was sitting there, I was watching, waiting for my ride to pick me up, I was watching, one of them videos on YouTube, and they were, of course, sensitizing me and using shadow networking. They started talking about abuse. They weren't even talking about sexual abuse. They just mentioned the word abuse. I hear ref campaign and the fly flying in my face. So I said, I know they couldn't be gaslighting me about the PTSD reaction I had today when I was sitting through that hearing. I hear revving and I hear a door close behind me. I said, are you kidding me? I said, you're sensitizing me because I saw a judge that I recognized that goes to my gym? And I started to say whatever I was saying in my head, and they started to quiet down. But this is how the thing works, man. No disrespect to the judge. Of course not. No disrespect. I'm just trying to explain why I had the reaction I had. This is what leads to these videos. It's always defending myself. It's either that I had some nasty reaction to antagonization all day long, and I finally reacted and then I'm getting gaslit about it, or I had a PTSD anxious reaction and I'm getting gaslit about it. That's what these videos are about, and then I get gaslit about the videos. Anyway, so that's that. That's the first thing I wanted to talk about. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, I'm trying to think because it's like two other things I wanted to talk about that happened. This is one, the coup de grace, boy. This thing with an inmate, and I have to be careful again. I won't go into the details, too many details about it. I'm just going to say what he was saying. It was three things. It's three things. That's right. Yeah, it's two different things. One inmate detainee that came in, and then a detainee that's been in the jail. Y'all, I'm hearing some weird stuff outside. All right, y'all. So let's talk about, and I'm sorry for the last clip cutting off abruptly. This is actually the next day now, y'all, that I'm finishing the video. The last clip cut off abruptly because I had someone in my close circle knock on my door, and I kept getting told about talking too loud, even though I was talking very soft. It's like I can't even talk in my room. It's just a nightmare when you don't have your own place. But anyways, y'all, so let me continue to tell you what happened at work, because it was a day full of adventure. Hear the revving in the background now. I hear the crazy ass revving in the background. And mind you, everyone on the island was watching like it's a freaking movie show. And I got the retribution when I left work too. They were, as usual, the people that are involved in a negative way, the gang stalkers, were celebrating that moment. Mind you, the day prior I had a good day and I had a good interaction with an inmate. Of course, everybody was silent then. It's just crazy. And I told you all this already in the last clip, the last few clips, not the last one, but one of those clips that you just heard. I told you all that with the technology at lunchtime, they were even sending shadow networking, talking about how one day was good and the next day was bad, and da-da-da. Because yesterday was the day prior to yesterday, because remember now it's Saturday, y'all. What I'm documenting or continuing to document is what took place at work yesterday, Friday. On Thursday, I had a good day, and I had a good interaction with an inmate, even though he was also definitely using sensitization in the conversation. It was fun. It was an educational conversation and an educational debate that I won, and it was fun. It was a fun debate that him and I were having. It's not like the ominous turn that things took yesterday with the inmate I dealt with yesterday. So I want to hear the revving, the crazy revving. You hear the crazy revving? They're losing it out there. They were enjoying it. I'm guaranteed they're probably sitting back loving the moment when this man was going in on me. Anyway, I almost wonder was he put up to it, because then there's another detainee that came in that was new to the jail that was it got even lower than what happened with this inmate. Anyway, that's why I said got low-key got abusive, right? So anyway, let me tell you what happened. So in the location I was at yesterday in the jail, it's like the detention center, and so that's the area where the detainees come in. That's the area where people who are just getting arrested are coming and getting booked into the jail. That's where they had me yesterday. Some of the detainees that are already booked and in the jail also come through that area to go to court cases and stuff. Because remember what I was talking about in the prior clip, before you have your court case, you're a detainee. If you have charges against you and you have a pending court case, you're a detainee. Whether you're being held in the facility or you're being held at home on house arrest, you're a detainee. You're not an inmate yet. So we have inmates and we have detainees, and they wear two different colors. So I was in the detention center, and the day to me was going slow, and as usual, the same thing. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't a horrible day. It was just the same old stuff, where I kind of feeling awkward sitting there because I know I'm being stared at. My brain is ticking, how the thought projection psychological thing happens where, people are listening to your thoughts. So sometimes it feels like things are just pushing into your brain. It's this weird thing. I've heard other targets complain about it. People who haven't experienced this can't empathize, but it's really a horrible, torturous experience, especially when, you're being programmed 24/7. But anyway, it wasn't too bad, really. The area wasn't too bad. I did feel a little bit awkward because the correction officer they put me under, of all days for me to put me there, she's sisters with one of the guys that goes to the gym, and he's good friends with that dude that I made the video about. So it just felt awkward. And you just intuitive. I could tell she doesn't like me like that, but she was still working with me. It's not like she was being standoffish or not trying to teach me the job or being nasty. She wasn't doing anything like that. You know how you can be intuitive and pick up someone's energy. I could just tell she didn't care for me. But anyway, she was doing her job. So that's what's important. I'm not there to make friends. And I'm not trying to sound, because that might make me sound even more insensitive or apathetic or like a bitch. But I don't know how else I can say this. I'm a target. There's not really much. Yeah, y'all. Sorry about that. But yeah, like I was saying in the last clip, I don't really know what more I can do. I'm a target, and many of the workers have preconceived notions of who they think I am. They've seen these reactions before they ever even got to know me or even meet me in person. They just saw these nasty reactions on camera, and so they have their opinion. And the saying, first impressions are lasting ones, like that's just what it is. First of all, I don't even have the kind of personality where I can come in and win you over. Like, first of all, you would have to have the kind of personality that made me feel comfortable enough to open up for you to even see the real me or see my personality. That's the first problem. I'm not a social person. So for this to have happened to someone like me, that's really like a big, like, it's not much I can really do with the personality that I have, so coming in with my personality and then them having preconceived notions, it's just not much I can do. And so that's what I meant when I said I'm not coming there to make friends, because truly I'm not. I'm just trying to get on my feet. I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to make money like every other person out there. And I don't have to be friends with you for us to work together. As long as we're cordial and respectful to each other and we get the job done, that's all that matters. I just came to terms with the fact that I'm a target and not everyone's going to like you. That's just how it is. But first impressions are lasting ones. That's real. And so it is what it is. Anyway, not everyone in there has that energy either. It's like certain ones I can tell. Like, like you're intuitive. Some people aren't intuitive. Like some people you could, they're running their mouth off or trying to talk to somebody and it's like they can't tell that the person can't stand the best bone in their body. It's never been me. Like I can feel out when someone ain't feeling me. Like trust me. I might still try to, facilitate conversation and make things work because we're sitting there for 9 hours straight together. But I can pretty much feel the ones that really don't care for me, and then the ones that maybe are impartial to the whole thing, where it's like they don't really care one way or the other. I can feel it. Like I can feel the ones like maybe there's, a feeling there, and then other ones where it's like I'm impartial to the whole thing, not necessarily feeling one way or the other, just familiar with the situation. Anyway, so it is what it is. I'm there to work. I'm not there to make friends. This is not the playground. I'm a grown woman, at this point. We're not in high school. So, I mean, it is what it is. As long as they're not disrespectful to me and I'm not disrespectful to them and we get our job done, that's all that matters. So, anyways, I forgot what I was going to say, though. So, continuing on. So, yeah, so that was what was going on. I was sitting up underneath her, not under her. This area, the detention area, is kind of spacious, thank goodness. So it's not one of those posts where I have to sit like right next to the guard. Those are typically the most awkward posts for me. So we had our space. She had her space. I had mine, right? And it wasn't too bad. So we getting through the day. And like shortly before lunch, it was like right before I went for my lunch. It was like, dang, couldn't he have come in like a few minutes later? I would have left for lunch in that moment. Wouldn't have happened. Anyway, some of the detainees came in. And by the way, I wanted to clear up because in some of the last clips, I kind of, before I specified the difference between a detainee and an inmate, I was kind of using the term interchangeably. That's why I went into detail about the difference. Like I referred to the guy that I'm about to talk about now. In one of those, I think it was either the last clip or the one before that, I think I called him an inmate by accident. He's a detainee. The guy I had, obviously, he's coming into the detention center. The guy that I had the good interaction with on Thursday was an inmate. So he's already had his court case. He's already been sentenced. He's in there. He's an inmate. The guy that, like I said, I'm about to talk about now is a detainee. So he's also staying in the facility, but he hasn't been sentenced yet. He's dealing with charges. He hasn't had his like main court case, official court case yet. So anyways, he comes in, I guess he had court. Not his, I don't know if that was his main court date there, like where he was going to find out what his, whether or not he was going to be convicted or what the sentencing would be. I don't know what it was. I don't know the particulars. And even if I did know, I couldn't specify because I can't really say too much. There's a level of confidentiality that has to be had. But I'm just documenting what happened because the day really took an ominous turn. And then, of course, with the gang stalking, they were ready to hop on top of me about it. They were like in celebration about what took place. So this inmate comes in, and they have a nickname for him. And the nickname, I'm not going to say his nickname, but they call him that because he's short, right? He's not super short. I'm 5'8". He looks like he's about 5'6", maybe 5'7". He's not like super, super short, but for a man, that's considered short. So they have a nickname for him that they call him. I'm not going to say it, obviously. So he comes in, and a group of them come in to the detention center, and I guess they had a court case or whatever. The court cases, they come back in. I got up to open the door because the officer asked me to. So I'm walking back to my seat. He's walking up behind me. He said, "Hey, nurse." This is what they call me. I'm cadet nurse, but some of them just call me nurse. He's like, "What you say, nurse?" And you're going to hear me using the accent, y'all. Because although you don't hear the it's this weird thing. I'm not trying to go off on a tangent. Down here, because down here is obviously where they have the accent, they tell me I sound like a Yankee, which is a nickname they give to people from the mainland that don't have the accent. When I go to the States, Florida or any state really that I've ever been to, they're always asking me, "Where are you from? Where are you from? You have an accent. Where are you from? You from the islands? You from the islands?" So it's always been this weird thing where I have this strange accent where it's not like I'm completely yanking like somebody that's from Florida or New York or one of those places, but I'm not like completely speaking with the island accent from the island I'm from. Like when I'm down here on island, to them I sound like I'm from the States or the mainland. When I'm in the mainland, they're asking me where I'm from because I do have an island twang to the things I say. A lot of the things I say have an island twang to it. And then it's this weird accent too because I don't want to say weird. I don't like that word. It has a negative connotation, but I have a unique accent because then there's a little bit of element of Trini to it because I grew up around Trini people. My father and his side of the family is from Trinidad. And my grandparents had a major influence on me growing up. So I grew up around a lot of those aunts and uncles and stuff. And so some of the things I say have a Trini twang to it. Some of the things I say have a Crucian, which is the island I'm actually from, born and raised, twang to it. And then I yank. So it's just a unique accent, right? And so people are always asking me about where I'm from and why do I talk like that? And I try to explain it to them, but it's complicated. It's not really just because I went to private school for some of my life. Half of my life I went to private school. That's not the only reason why. It's also because my mom, even though her family is from the Virgin Islands, my mom's dad was from St. Thomas. So we have Tomian blood in us. And my mom's mom was from St. Croix, like old Crucian blood. I have old Crucian blood in me. I am half Crucian, truly, well, quarter, actually technically quarter Crucian. She was born and raised in New York. So she grew up in New York for like 15 years of her life before her mom and her dad decided to relocate back to the Virgin Islands. They met up there. They were both Virgin Islanders. Like I said, my grandpa was from St. Thomas and my grandma was from St. Croix. Met up, got together, had my mom and her siblings. My mom grew up in New York for like 10 to 15 years of her life. Like she was 15, I think, or 14 when they relocated back to the island. And so when she got back, she had like a New York accent. She still has it now. She's kind of like me, where there's an island twang to some of the things she says, but even more so than me, she has like this Yankee, like up north type of accent. So that's what they're hearing when they hear me talk. It's like all of these different influences. And then also I went to private school for half my life. So that's what it is. Anyways, why did I go off on that tangent? Damn, the ADD. There's a reason why I went off on that tangent. I'm trying to remember. I was talking about them calling me nurse. Oh, that's why I went off on the tangent. Because I said you're going to hear me really using the Crucian accent. And Crucian, y'all, is just the dialect of the island that I was born and raised on. I'm from St. Croix. So when I'm emulating or mimicking this detainee, and the things he was saying, I'm going to attempt to use the Crucian accent. So that's why I was explaining to you all that, I know you might, because if you are a subscriber that's from the mainland or the United States, my voice might already have an island twang to you, but you really aren't hearing the accent like how it really sounds because I actually yank. So I was just explaining you're really going to hear it now because I'm going to try to emulate. He really has the Crucian accent. I'm going to try to emulate the things he was saying and the way he said it. So that's what I was explaining, and I went off on a tangent about my accent. So anyways, he came in. He said, "Nurse, what you saying?" Right? And that's just saying, like, "Nurse, what's up? What you saying? What are you saying? Like, what's up? What's good?" That's what that means. So a lot of them say that when they see me, like, "How you doing, nurse?" Or "What you saying, nurse? Good afternoon, nurse. Morning, nurse." That kind of thing, like that, right? So he came in. He said, "Nurse, what you saying?" I said, "I'm good." I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Yeah," just saying like he's here. "I'm okay." I said, "Okay." I said, "Good, good." I went to my seat, right? He comes over and he tries to sit at the chair in front of my desk. My coworker at that point said, "No, no, no, up, up, up." She said, "You need to go over there by the cell, up." Right? So he got up and he went over by the cell and he stood there and then he got like this like weird ominous look on his face and he started to attack me. He just started to verbally attack me. Now, mind you, I've had many interactions with this detainee, and he's always mannerful, and not only mannerful, he's always telling me fresh things too. He's actually one of the few ones that be saying fresh stuff. The other ones are pretty respectful. Not to say he's not respectful, because he is respectful, and typically the conversation is lighthearted and positive. It's like he's never saying anything negative or nasty to me. He's usually just being positive and saying, "How you doing? Da da da." Nice conversation. And then sometimes he gets fresh and you say some fresh stuff and I have to tell him, "Behave yourself, behave." And then he'll stop. And I just walk off and go about my business. He's never verbally attacked me. I don't know if he got wind of the targeting or the situation. Somebody told him what was going on, because I noticed slowly but surely more and more of them, I think they all know now, started to like, it's just a difference in how they started talking to me. I can't really explain it. I'm very intuitive. I'm very intuitive. I could tell when one of them didn't know versus when they know about the situation. It's a different energy, right? So I think he got wind of the situation is what it is, and some of the things I've said. And he had whatever, but it's weird. It was like this bipolar thing, because when he came in, he approached me and talked to me like how he normally does. Then he came to sit on the chair, like I said, in front of my desk. And my coworker told him, "Up, up, up. No, no, no. You need to go by your cell." He went over by the cell and then he just looked over at me and his face just got like this ominous look and he just started to go in. Like, I don't know what the heck happened. But obviously he heard about the situation. It was just like totally different to the energy that I usually get from him. It was just really crazy. He started to attack me verbally. Like he said, what was the first thing he told me? I'm trying to remember. He said, oh, my brain started ticking, right? Because it was the person or officer that brought them in, the detainees in, one of them was white. So my brain was ticking, but not because of him. My brain was just ticking in general because all of them had come in the room. And anytime they come in the room, not even just detainees or inmates, even co-workers, officers, lawyers, attorneys, these are all of the different types of people I see on a daily basis. Whenever anyone new walks in the room, especially if it's a group of people, my brain starts ticking. My brain has ticked around him so many times before and he hasn't flipped out like that. He just started to go like bananas, right? So he just said, "Hey," when the white guy left, he said, what? I'm sorry to say this. This is going to sound offensive. I'm just telling you what he said. And obviously he's not really saying this about white people. This was sensitization and a dig at me. Because remember, the false narrative is that I stink. So he said, "Hey, the man, them white people stink, the man." He said, "That man smell stink. They got stink smell. He said, "Them white people stink." And he said, "I talking about us?" He said, "I talking about?" And so I just said, "What?" Because I'm not used to him acting like this with me, right? So I was thrown back. I was thrown aback. I'm not used to this energy from him. So it threw me off. It's not even like I had a quick response. Usually because I'm dealing with this shit on a day-to-day basis from random people, right? The shadow networking, or the directed, not shadow networking, that's the technology, the directed convo or the conversations with innuendo in it or digs at me. I usually have a quick witty comeback. I didn't have a response because I wasn't used to that from him. I wasn't expecting it. So it threw me off. I said, "Huh?" The double thing. I said, "What?" I said, "Huh?" So I just looked and I pretend like I didn't hear him. I said, "Oh shit, damn, they got to him too." I just thought he was going to stop. I thought he was going to have his little moment there and he was going to stop. He kept going. He said, hey, the man, they stink bad, the man. They have this kind of weird smell to them, you know? You know how them white people stink. That's what he said. So then he stopped, right? He said, you know I talking about, nurse? I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I just looked down and continued to do what I was doing. So then he starts saying, hey, nurse. He said, take off everything. Let me see you. I want to see you. I want to see your face. He said, let me see your face. Let me see that beautiful face. Let me see that beautiful face. So they done got to him. Remember, the narrative is that I'm this ugly stink thing. This is what they're trying to perpetuate and project onto me. So he said, let me see that beautiful face. Take off the mask and everything. Let me see it. And I said, okay. I said, no, I'm not taking it off today. I said, no, I'm not. And he said, no, I about to, when I get out of here, I try not to get out of here. When I get out of here, I go find you, He said, I go find you. I said, you're going to find me? I said, you better stay out of trouble. At this point now, I start getting responsive. I'm not going to do that with somebody that's in the jail because this is my place of work. But I think he heard about my reputation because when I'm out there and they're doing the stuff they're doing, I start to go real ham in my head about it. And sometimes if they're getting aggressive physically outside of the facility, I do my own little thing there in the gym or in person, but not in the jail. I'm not trying to lose my job, first of all. These are people, actually the inmates and the detainees that I'm actually trying to build a relationship with. I would venture to say even more so than the co-workers because my whole goal is to become a psychologist. There's a difference. And I want to work with them on that level. Like for real. That's what I'm trying to do for a career. I'm actually looking at classes now. I told you guys this in my last video so I can go back to school and get my master's. That's what I want to do. Yeah, I'm going to be a corrections officer, which is also why I need to build a relationship with them because I'm going to be doing that for the next 4 to 5 to 6 years, I would say. Right? Before I actually get into whatever it is that I'm really trying to do. So I need to build a relationship with them. I'm not trying to have like a nasty reaction with anyone in there that I'm trying to build a relationship with. So for me, I'm just more so thinking before I act and I'm thinking before I respond. But I'm just like, how do I de-escalate this situation, but also like establish a level of respect? Because now he's really crossing the line. You could say a little stupid thing about, well, white people stink and you're insinuating whatever. But now you sound like you borderline threatening me. Because he's talking about how when he get out, he gonna find me. He gonna find me. I gonna look for you, I gonna find you. I said, listen. I said, you need to stay out of trouble. I said, don't look for me. Don't look for problems. I said, stay out of trouble. So then he said, listen, I ain't afraid of nobody, He said, I ain't scared of nobody. He said, nobody don't scare me. He said, hey. He started telling the dude he was with, the detainee, he said, hey, I get my knife on me, He said, I get my knife on me, He said, I ain't scared of nobody. He said, what are you gonna do, Nuss? He said, you're gonna arrest me? You're gonna arrest me when you see me out there? I said, are you gonna be getting in trouble? I said, I'm not gonna arrest you if you're not doing anything bad. I said, are you gonna be getting in trouble? Should I have to arrest you? And he said, no, me ain't gonna get in no trouble. I said, okay. So then he's just standing there and he kept saying stuff and then saying, right, nurse? And so my coworker finally told him, hey, behave, knock it off, behave. Because he was just attacking me, like aggressively, right? So then while he's doing all of this, I get a call from one of the other officers, this guy that works in there at one of the different units. And the other day, one of my coworkers was actually describing him to me because he had left something in the window of the unit. And so she was just trying to describe who he was. And so I said, when she described him and told me his name, now I know his name and I know, I'm familiar with him. I actually had an interaction with him before, just very brief interaction with him before. But anyways, so he's from what I can tell, a really nice guy, right? But he called. And so when I got off the phone with him, his name started ticking in my head. It's more to the situation than just that situation that had just another revving by the crazy crap. Another revving by and going crazy, right? So anyways, they're going crazy outside with the ref campaign. You don't understand. There was like a moment I had with him. There was a day they had ice cream for us in the facility. And he came over to the unit to pick up ice cream, the same officer. And so he said, hey, he introduced himself to me. And he said, when am I going to get to see you for real? He said, you wearing all this stuff. When are I going to get to see you for real? And I said, eventually. I said, you're going to see me. I like to stay covered up. I'm just trying to protect myself from the germs and stuff. And he said, okay. And he had this like jolly smell. And he stayed and he talked to me for a few minutes. And then, every time I walk by him now, we kind of say hi to each other. But it wasn't anything like that where it was weird or anything. Not like his name was taken in my head. He seems like a cool guy. He's really nice. what happened is, like I said, a couple days ago, I had a coworker that was describing him to me, and I didn't know his name was what it is. Now I know his name because of her. I just knew his face and the fact that we had had that conversation. And so the coworker is telling me, trying to describe who it was that left the thing in the window. And she told me the name. And when she described him, I was like, oh, I know him. Yeah, da da da. So he calls now while I'm down there in the detention center. He was trying to do his head count. There's something called head count that we do twice or 3 times a day in the facility, just to keep track of all the inmates and make sure they're all where they're supposed to be. Every officer who's over a unit has to count and keep track of, where every inmate for their unit is, where each inmate for the unit is at the time, and call it into central control and the detention center. They're only calling in the detainees to the detention center. Central control gets the call about all of the people in the facility that are being contained, so inmates and detainees. So he was calling to do head count, just to tell us who his detainees were. And remember, I was in the detention center. So at the time, my coworker was dealing with intake and whatever else she was dealing with because these guys had come back in to the detention center. So I answered the phone and I said, hey, cadet nurse speaking, and he told me his name. He told me what unit he was at, and he was just telling me basically how many detainees he had. So I get off the phone with him. I'm already basity because this detainee here that I usually have a good interaction with is attacking me. I'm not used to this energy from him. And I'm trying to figure out how I need to interact and de-escalate the situation, because it's not going to be typical me outside of work where I'm having the nasty reaction. I'm going to try to de-escalate and deal with it in a professional way. This is work, right? It's not some dude off the street where I'm like going to check you because you trying to be disrespectful. This is someone that I'm in control of. It was a detainee. I can't just go, rip off his head. Like, it's not going to work. So I'm trying to figure out how to, this is my first encounter with a situation like this. And it's not coming from someone random. It's coming from someone who I actually had a good relationship with. So this is why I'm trying to figure out what the hell is all of this energy he's coming with. So anyways, I got off the phone with that officer. The officer's name starts ticking in my head. It just happened twice. His name ticked in my head twice. Oh my God. Who said to let that happen? He started up again with me, the detainee. He said, hey, I hate that man, And he said the dude's name, right? And he said, that man, like he retarded the man. He said, that man, this and that, just going in, right? And he said, nurse, can I get a cup of water, please? He said, I go get some water. He said, let me get some water. After he goes off on the officer who's just called, whose name started ticking in my head, he started to go ham. He punched the wall and he said he hate that man. He said that man is a this and that and act retarded and this and that. And he said, nurse, can I get some water, please? He's like, go get some water. So I said, sure. Because I'm still trying to like analyze the situation and figure out how to de-escalate. And I'm also trying to figure out what it is that pissed him off so bad. Because obviously he heard something that pissed him off and is making him attack me like this. So I went and I put the water in the cup and I walked over slowly to him because in my head I'm calculating on how to deal with the situation. I hand the water to him. He said, thank you. I said, no problem. I sit back down. He's drinking the water. Mind you, this was a reference to me being thirsty now. Because remember, the dude's name ticked in my head. So now that was the reference, a dig at me, or trying to call me thirsty. I politely got him the water. I sat down. Still trying to figure out de-escalation. Oh my God, he started going off again, man. He still keep attacking me. I finally said, hey, so-and-so, I said his nickname. I said, what's going on today with you, man? I said, it feels like you're attacking me. I said, you usually have a nice positive attitude and you're being negative today. And I feel like all this animosity. I said, what's going on? What's happening? I said, no, ain't nothing. He said, what? You feel like I attacking you? I said, yes. And he said, no, man, I just like women. I just like women, man. I just like women. I said, okay, well, it feels like you're attacking me. I feel attacked. And he said, no, man, I ain't attacking you, man. He said, nah. And then he kind of just calmed down a little bit. And then he said, so you don't want me to talk to you anymore? You don't want me to tell you hi anymore? I said, you can tell me hi. I said, but all this extra stuff, I don't want it. I said, it feels like you're being negative. I said, I don't want the negative stuff. I said, of course you can tell me hi, but just the negative stuff needs to stop. And he said, fine, I ain't gonna tell you hi anymore. I ain't gonna tell you nothing. I said, well, okay, if that's how you feel. I said, you don't have to tell me anything either. And he said, fine, whatever. He said, I ain't gonna tell you nothing no more, this and that. I said, okay, no problem. Right? So then now my coworker gets up and she opens the cell room to put him in because there's a cell in the detention center. He's in the detention center. She walks out the room to go deal with something real quick. He starts flipping out inside the cell. He starts screaming and banging on the walls and stuff. He said, hey! He said, they need to take me back to my cell, the man. He said, you ain't letting me out of here? You need to take me back to my cell. He said, I'm tired. He said, I've been here since 7 o'clock. He said, I need to eat. I need to shit. I need to eat. I need to shit. Now, mind you, Remember, the false narrative is that my breath smells like shit or whatever the case is. And also that I eat. Remember what I was telling you earlier, the perverted reference to me being, I guess, gay, right? He's going ham in the cell. I need to eat. I need to shit. And he's just banging on stuff and just acting crazy in there. So I started, he didn't see my face. I was sitting behind the desk. I started to laugh, not because of what he's going on with him. Because again, I'm trying to deal with the mental health of inmates. That's what I'm interested in. If it felt like a genuine meltdown, there would have never been a laugh that came out of me. But it's the fact that he had just been attacking me so aggressively and now he's using two words that are sensitization, the eat and the shit. That's what made a chuckle come in me. I laughed a little bit because it's like, what is going on? Why is he attacking me so aggressively? So I got up and of course I didn't let him see me laughing. And I walked up to the cell and I said, what's going on? I said, why are you flipping out today? So and so. What's going on with you? I said, now you screaming and stuff. I said, you're not going to get results this way. Screaming and acting crazy like this. I said, I understand you've been here since 7 o'clock. Talk to us with respect and then we'll treat you with respect. I said, why are you screaming and acting like this? He starts to scream right. He said, hey, get your mother skunt. He said, you just tell me not to talk to you, right? You just say you don't want to talk to me, right? He said, get your mother skunt. Right? A mother skunt is like a real disrespectful thing to tell somebody here in the islands. It's a disrespect. It's kind of like calling somebody a cunt. It's really even more disrespectful than that. It's talking about your mother's, but not technically. They're not literally talking about your mother's business. It's more of a dab at you. It's almost equivalent to calling you a bitch or a cunt, right? So he started to go ham on me, boy. He started to say, get your mother skunt. He said, you just tell me don't talk to you, right? You say you don't want to talk to me, get your mother skunt. I said, what? I said, you are being real disrespectful. I said, this is ridiculous. I said, you are being disrespectful. I said, I've never seen you act like this before. I said, this is ridiculous. He started to scream over my voice. He said, la, 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 la. I want to go to my cell. I want to go. And you swear, right? The way I'm describing how he was reacting, you think it's like some crazy person. This is a regular dude. If you see him, he looks like a regular dude. Right? A normal dude. He's just flipping out and just going off. And I think what happened is maybe he had a bad day at court. Maybe he got some bad news at court, in addition to maybe having gotten wind of some of the things that I've said in my videos. And I think it was a mix of things. I think he probably had a bad day at court. He was really annoyed that he had been there since 7. And then to boot, he probably had heard some stuff about me and was having whatever feelings towards me. I think he just took it out on me. That's what I'm assuming. Because I had never seen this man act like this before. He started to flip out in the damn cell. Or maybe the whole thing was staged. Maybe it was all theater and they sent him in there. And the only reason I'm saying that is because another detainee came in, one that was new to the jail, that was definitely theater. Him, I don't know if it was theater or him doing that on his own because he had heard about some stuff with me and they told him, and he decided to have that reaction with me, or if they put him up to it, they told him to do it. I don't know, and I don't want to bear false witness, but there was another detainee that came in that was new to the facility. I don't know this one, and he was definitely, like, I could tell was sent in there, for sure, with the stuff he was saying, right? So anyways, so eventually my coworker came back in and she said, boy, behave yourself. She said, behave, man. And she opened the gate and she took him about his business. Of course, when I left for lunch, they're all revving in the road. They're all watching like this is freaking entertainment. I'm telling you, I feel like I'm on Love and Hip Hop Island Edition. Except it's not like when the gym, it feels more like Love and Hip Hop, where they're creating this weird thing with that guy. But outside of the jail, it's just like, you know how on Love and Hip Hop, you're just following around. It's like reality TV and you're following their life around. Not everything is romance. You're following the drama that happens in their life. Like, that's what it feels like is happening. Like a live edition of Love and Hip Hop Island style. Except I didn't sign up for it. And everybody's watching like it's a movie. I'm probably eating popcorn. So that was like a crazy experience. I don't know what the heck that was. So I sat down and I said, I wiped my head. I said, I need to go to lunch. I see that, it was like 15 minutes past my lunch dealing with the craziness. I let my coworker know. I said, hey, I'm going to lunch now. She said, okay. Took my stuff, left, about to go to lunch and try to regroup from that weird experience. And as I'm walking down, of course, I'm hearing Ref campaign outside of the jail. So they all saw what happened. I went to the lunchroom. I could tell the guys saw what happened too. They were trying to be nice to me. One of the guys was complimenting my shitty ass artwork. I be drawing and doodling and it looks like crap. They all ask me about it in there. They're always asking me about, my drawings and do you like to draw and stuff. I don't draw for real. I'm a poet. If I were writing poetry and they're asking me about that, then I'd be more passionate about it and I'd be like, yeah, I do this, da da da. The drawing thing, like, that's something my younger sister does and she's real good at it. I'm not an artist in that way. Never have been. I mean, I did actually, no lie, in fourth grade, I won like this drawing competition we had because I really put effort into it. But it was more so what I drew rather than how the drawing looked. I'm not good at drawing. I just literally have a coloring book and some color pencils, and I just doodle because I can't have my phone in there. And there are moments where we're sitting there not doing anything, and I'm just trying to make the time pass by. I don't have a computer like the correction officers that I'm sitting under. So that's my way of making the time go by. But they're always asking me about it. I think it's just a way of conversation, to keep things lighthearted. But the guy in the cafeteria, you could tell they both had heard about that thing, boy. They're like, oh, eyebrows on fleek, eyebrows on fleek. Then they start telling me, you want food, okay? And they said, hey, nurse, I love your drawings, this and that. The guy in the cafeteria started telling me about my drawings and how they look so good. I need to put them up on the wall. And he was just trying to, you could tell, just trying to make me feel good. And it just was not working. I'm just Basity and trying to catch myself, man. I was just Basity and trying to catch myself from that experience. I could not catch myself. I even heard one of the inmates, one of the detainees as I was leaving, saying something about, oh gosh, man, something gonna cry, something gonna cry. And they don't know me, because maybe a typical female would have cried from the way this man was going on. A typical female dealing with that type of harsh energy and aggression might go in a corner and cry, but I'm a different type of female, first of all. And second of all, I'm desensitized. I've been dealing with a lot of harsh things for about 4 years now. 2 years in particular, where I've been dealing with a lot of insulting. I've been dealing with a lot of humiliation. So a little back and forth with a detainee where he's saying stuff that's been said to me a million times. It's not enough to make me cry. It was humiliating, I'm not going to lie, and I didn't know how to catch myself because I hadn't experienced that from any of the inmates, in particularly him. I had a good repertoire with him. So for me, it was more so like I was taken aback and I was humiliated. But it wasn't to the point where I felt like crying. It was more so just like, what the heck? This is embarrassing. And I didn't really know how to handle the situation either. So anyway, so I get my lunch though. I appreciated them trying to make me feel better, but it was just not working. I was still in shock. I was in shock and trying to catch myself. So anyways, I went down. I went down to the, I'm walking down for the cafeteria now. As I'm about to leave the gate, I hear Ref Campaign outside. So of course, like I said, the whole island was watching. So I went out and I had lunch. And I'm going to tell you all about what happened with this other detainee that was definitely theater. No cap, this was theater for sure. But let me stop the video, y'all, and catch myself. And this is why I said the thing took a real dark turn and where it got abusive. Because even what was happening with that last inmate could be categorized as verbal abuse as well. This here, what was said, even though no yelling was done, to me, this hit harder than what that guy was saying. Because it was so low. But I'm going to stop the video and come back and finish, y'all. Let me just catch myself and listen to the video I just made. To finish the video. So when I got back in from lunch, mind you, at lunch, remember I told you as I was heading out for lunch, I heard Ref Campaign in the main road. Obviously, they're watching everything that's going on with me, play by play, the people outside of the jail, on island. They all have access to these cameras that are on me. It's literally like a freaking reality TV show. Anyway, so I go outside to the area I like to sit at for lunch in the parking lot. And I'm on my phone and stuff, and I'm watching stuff. And of course, with the shadow networking AI software, they instantly started sending me videos with subliminal messaging, kind of referencing the situation, but not directly, talking about people that had a good day one day and then the next day the day was horrible. And, just trying to kind of attack with the, and mock with the technology. And I'm hearing Ref Campaign in the road. I was like, I knew they were gonna hop on that little moment that happened, right? So I said, let me, I actually had stuff I needed to do at lunch and I shouldn't, I said, let me take care of that stuff instead of sitting here and letting them send stupidness with the technology. So I ate my food and I made some calls. I was just calling about school. Remember I told you guys about 2 weeks ago that, in the last video I posted, I told you guys that I was trying to get my student loans off of my credit report because all of a sudden, now I'm trying to clean up my credit to get a car. I see the student loans on my credit report. So I was planning to get my master's anyway. And so I decided to try to contact them and let them know I'm not done with school. And so when I had that conversation a few days ago, I had called. The lady was basically telling me if I don't have a transcript or if I'm not enrolled in school, then they can't, they can't take it off my credit and put it as me still being in school. So she was telling me there are different options. I can look at forbearance, different things, loan forgiveness. She was explaining that to me. And so I told her I would give her a call back. So I chose to use this moment here at lunch to call her back and deal with that situation. So that's what I did. I made that phone call, and she was nice to me. She was helpful. She told me about a 90-day deferment, so they can give me up to 90 days to get enrolled in classes, and then in the meantime put things up to date as if my payments are up to date, so that way it won't affect my credit. And it's not affecting the credit negatively, it's just the fact that it's showing on my credit now. But it would have soon had a negative mark because I was behind in payments according to this payment schedule for the student loans. So had I not dealt with the situation, eventually it would have been a derogatory mark on my credit report. And the goal is to get my credit report up to my credit score to 670 so that I can get a car loan. I'm almost there, y'all. I'm at 643. I went from a 528, something like that, to 643. Mind you, in 2022, prior to me trying to relocate off island, my credit score was a 700 and change. The credit score took a hit because of the things that transpired when I tried to relocate and my targeting blowing up. You know, I had taken out a credit card. I had gotten into a lot of stupidness that affected my credit and had a negative impact on my credit. Anyway, so that's why the credit's in the you know, pretty much in the pooper now, not to use that term. But anyways, I've been working diligently to pay the stuff off. I've paid off several accounts that was in my credit, and I only have one more account that I'm paying off now, and then the student loans are there. So that's what I was doing, trying to deal with the credit so that I can get the car. So anyways, I called her and she told me about the 90-day deferment, told me that in 90 days, you know, by then I need to be enrolled in classes, and in the meantime, she could put like a emergency forbearance on the account so it's up to date, basically. Thank the Most High, right? So anyways, I got off the phone, and while she's being nice and helping me, they're doing the ambulance in the background, and there was just like so much noise campaign at lunch. Like things were turned and lit just because of what had happened inside the facility with that detainee. Things were lit at lunch as far as noise campaigns go. Anyway, so I got back into the facility now. Lunch is finally over. I went back to the detention center, and at this point, one of the other correction officers that works at the detention center, it's an older guy. Not like much, it's not like he's super old, but I'm just saying an older guy. I'm just describing him. I don't really need to. Y'all let this thing rev by. You know, there's a spirit in the vessels of some of the people around when you're targeted. It's like a spirit takes them over, and they start doing weird, strange things. Listen. Yeah, they start doing weird and strange things, and they start promoting evil things too. There's nothing godly about it, right? So there's a spirit that takes hold of some of these people. Anyways, so nothing of you could be of God if you're promoting murder or promoting somebody to self-harm. There's nothing godly about that. You come in with a wicked spirit at that point. But anyways, let me continue though. So that's where it went, y'all. This is what I'm telling you, this third detainee here, this second detainee here where I had the second interaction, I told you even though he wasn't yelling and being verbally abusive like the last one, what he said was worse than that guy. So, and I could tell it's like more than likely, like I'm 90% sure, I can't say for sure, I don't want to bear false witness. Like it definitely seemed like theater, and like he was sent in there, you know, not really a detainee, somebody sent in to do theater. So anyways, like I said, when I got back into the detention center, the other co-worker, that correction officer that works in there was there at the time. He had come in. An older guy, looks like he's in his 50s. And so he was in the seat that I was sitting in. So I moved myself to one of the back rooms that's still in the front area of the detention center, so that I wouldn't have to sit up under the officer that I was training under for the day, because I would have had to go and sit right next to her up under her desk, and I didn't want to do that. So I went in the back office and I just kind of sat there and continued to, you know, color in my coloring book, but still be observant of what was going on around me. So shortly after I get back from lunch, they come in with someone else now. They come in with this guy. He looked annoying. He just looked annoying. It wasn't like I should have just knew it was going to be some dumb shit. Like he looked annoying. Like he came in with these big dark shades on, I think trying to emulate me. Because remember, with them staring at me like a freak show, I've said this before, I'm constantly feeling in a state of unease or angst and just uncomfortable. You know, like the best way I can describe it is, think about when you go out in public and you have a child, not to use this example of all things, but a child staring at you. You know, some children, they don't care and they'll stare at you and you start to fidget because you're like, oh boy, why is this kid staring at me? Sometimes adults do it too, but adults have more I don't want to say common sense, but more understanding that that's strange to stare at someone. But a child doesn't know better. They might just stare at you. That's just something kids do sometimes. So you know that uncomfortable feeling you get when you're being stared at and you start fidgeting? That's what it feels like with these cameras on me, knowing that all these people are staring at me, and they even doing noise campaigns in the background to remind me that they're staring at me. Mind you, too, I'm also an introverted person. So this is why I wear the dark shades, because it's like my face gets this awkward look sometimes, my eyes gets this awkward look sometimes, and it still happens with the shades on, and I still, be feeling uneasy and uncomfortable, but it feels a little bit more comfortable for me wearing the dark shades. That's why I wear them. So anyway, he comes in with dark shades too, and this hoodie on, right? And he's yanking, they're trying to emulate me, because remember, again, I said I have this unique accent. He sounded nothing like me. He sounded like he was fresh out of like either Florida or one of those states. He sounded like a true Yankee. He didn't sound like how I sound when I talk. And he sounded annoying too. The accent sounded forced. Not only did he sound like he was from the States, but it's almost like he was forcing it too. It just sounded fake and disingenuous and annoying. It just irked me so bad, y'all, especially when he started saying the dumb crap. Like, it was just irking me so bad, and I had already had a bad day. And mind you too, I'm PMSing. So it was almost like they were trying to egg a nasty reaction out of me, and I didn't have it. I was just like, damn, I'm ready to go home today. Like, this is a bad day. So anyway, I'm sitting there. He starts talking, running his mouth. He said, yo, when are y'all gonna, finish filling out the paperwork and stuff? He said, man, I had a really crazy last few days, man. Yo, it's been a crazy last few days. He said, I need some water. Now I'm copying his accent. Y'all know I've been copying accents throughout the video. I was copying the guy earlier who had the Crucian accent, and now I'm copying this guy that had a true Yankee accent, but it sounded forced and disingenuous and annoying. So he's like, yo, I need some water. He said, I've been drinking for days, man. I've been drinking for days. He said, I'm thirsty, man. He said, I need some, he said, I've been drinking liquor, alcohol for days. He said, I'm super dehydrated. I need some water. So you already know it's shadow networking, pushing the false narrative about water and thirst, but then also, too, pushing the narrative of alcoholism and whatever, right? So mind you, when I had the good interaction, remember I told y'all on Thursday I had a good interaction with an inmate. So I told you on Friday, which was yesterday, all this craziness happened with the detainees. On Thursday, I actually had a good interaction with an inmate where he was also using innuendos in the conversation, but it was fun, and it was like an educational debate that him and I had, and I won. He was also hinting at thirst. This was an older man, like much older, like in his 60s or 70s, late 60s or early 70s, right? He brought the thirsty thing up too. He said something about sucking up water or whatever. So I had a witty comeback there because the conversation was lighthearted and I didn't feel like intimidated or like this was like some sort of threatening situation. So with him, I was having lighthearted banter with him, and I said, well, if somebody's thirsty or sucking up water, then they're smart. They're going to live a long life because the human body is made of 70% water. So if you're sucking up water, you're going to live a long life. And so that he didn't have a comeback for that. These are the kind of things that we were saying, the kind of conversation him and I were having, that inmate from Thursday, where the interaction was a lot better. But now it's like they're still pushing this thirsty thing with the dumb stupidness. It's just another false narrative, like the child thing and like the eating thing and all this other nasty stuff, man. It's just being malicious, just to bully and antagonize me. So anyways, he's just talking about thirsty. He's so thirsty. He needs water. He's so dehydrated. Man, I've been drinking for days. And, this craziness happened. You don't believe they were trying to kill me last night. And because they couldn't do it, they had to do this. They figured out a way to get me in here. They couldn't kill me last night. They wanted to kill me last night. So they figured out a way to do this. They got me in here. They locked me up for some stupid shit. There's some stupidness. Then they brought me in here. They figured out a way to get me in here. This is all this stupidness he said with his dumb, stupid, like fake forced accent. So I'm just rubbing my head and rolling my eyes. I'm like, God, can I find a reason to like leave the detention center until they deal with him? Because this is clearly like theater. I didn't feel like dealing with it. The day was already rotten as it was. And I believe this is all retribution for the video I recently made about the guy in the gym, This was all retribution because they were trying to do something with him, right? And I made a video talking about what was what, and I think they didn't like that, and I think that's why all of this is going on. Not specifically the thing with the first detainee where he attacked me. I don't know if that was theater or him having a bad day. That didn't feel like theater. It felt like he was saying things with innuendo that he had heard, purposely trying to antagonize me. But the way the interaction unfolded, it really didn't seem like theater, like acting. Like the second detainee that came in where off rip, you could tell he had a script. It was different, the two interactions. But I believe the whole reason that things kind of got gnarly in the first place, especially with the second detainee, was because of that video I made. Wait a minute. I'm just realizing I took down the video and I'm attaching it to this one, to this thing I'm saying here. So you just heard that video and now you're hearing what happened at work today. I forgot, y'all. I'm sorry, because it's like days and days of me making these different videos, right? That first part that you heard about what happened in the gym, I started that video a whole week and change ago. And now you're hearing this part about what happened at work on Friday. So I'm forgetting that this is actually attached to that video. So you just heard that video, what happened in the gym. But they've heard it. I did the recording even though it's not posted. So I believe this is what all the nastiness is about, the extra stuff. Again, reactive abuse and gaslighting. Because even with that situation in the gym, again, I was being antagonized. Anyway, so the guy's just going ham about how they were trying to kill him last night and they couldn't do it. So they figured out a way to get him in here and locked him up for something. And he was supposedly stealing something. Like, it was shadow networking. I mean, excuse me, it was theater like crazy. Because remember, I told you they used this stealing thing as a false narrative too because of something I said in my full story. So supposedly he had stolen something and, you know, that was how they figured out how to get him in here and just craziness, off-wall crap cap shit the man was saying, right? So then he starts saying, man, they're asking him where he needs to be. He said, I'm suicidal. He said, I'm fitting to kill myself. He said, I need to be on watch. He said, I need y'all to put me on watch. He said, I'm suicidal. You know, he's saying all of this stupid shit like that. And I was in New York and this and that. Now, mind you, I had just, like, literally the day before, on Thursday, when I had the good interaction with the inmate, I had at the end of the day had a conversation with this guard. And he was asking me about my accent, and I was explaining to him that my mother's from New York and she had an influence on the way I talk, and that's part of why I talk the way I do. He's like, and when I was in New York and this and that, it's like he was getting his accents confused, right? Now I'm talking about this detainee that was clearly what seems like doing theater. He's supposed to be, I guess, emulating a New Yorker accent, trying to take a dib at me, but the accent sounded fake and forced and disingenuous, and it actually sounded more like a Southern accent than an up north accent. So he wasn't even getting it correct. You know, he's saying New York, but he's yanking as if he's from one of the Southern states, like Florida or Georgia, rather than New York or one of those Eastern, up north, Northeast states. So I'm just like, can he get the script right? Like, you're not doing the right accent, guy. Like, you're not doing the right accent. And it was just giving me a headache, man. It was annoying me. So he just kept going on. And when he started saying the thing about suicide, you know, I went, ugh. You know, like, I just wiped my head. I just sucked my teeth and I shook my head. And then one of the older correction officers, like I said, the guy that had come in later in the day, he went, he did this loud cough like that. So at that point, I just started saying in my head, I plead the blood of Yeshua on me. I plead the blood of Yeshua on me, because I realized what was going on. I'm like, nah, man, this is wild. I said, I can't believe they're doing all of this now. What the heck? So I just started in my head, not out loud, because I know they can hear my thoughts. I started to just back to back say, I plead the blood of Yeshua. I even started saying, I plead the blood of Jesus Christ on me, because I realized this is some sort of spiritual attack and I'm not dealing with it. Right? So I start pleading the blood of the Most High on me. And then I stopped. They stopped saying what they were saying. They finished filling out the paperwork and took him out of there. Thank the Most High. And before they took him out of there, the older officer then said, you know, it's your attitude. You have a bad attitude. You have a bad attitude. I'm like, attitude? Like, this is if they're throwing the attitude thing again, that's gaslighting, because it's all reactive abuse. It's just like constant antagonization and me having reactions. That's all it's been. I don't have an attitude problem. I've never been told that in my entire 29 years, excuse me, because I got targeted at age 29. In my entire 29 years of living on this earth prior to being a target, nobody has ever told me about my attitude. Nobody has ever told me I had an attitude problem. Like, me and attitude, that's like actually contradictory, because I'm such a laid back, submissive type of person, typically. Not anymore. I've changed for real. They're talking about this change thing. I've changed for real. The people that know me prior to my targeting, they know full well how I am. And out of all my siblings, I was the most laid back one. So it's just crazy, this attitude thing they're saying when it's reactive abuse. You're dealing with a target who's dealing with antagonization by countless people every day, all day, no privacy, and you want to say attitude. That's crazy to me. Anyway, so finally the day was over. I was like, thank the Most High. It's Friday. The day is over. I have a 3-day weekend. I can recoup, catch myself, and figure shit out, right? So as soon as I leave the jail now, the facility, of course, the gang stalkers that are watching, because everyone's watching, and there are a lot of people that have an issue with me and holding grudges, don't know forgiveness, don't know the Bible really. They don't believe in forgiveness. They're watching, I think, excited that things went bad today for me. So soon, I'm done seeing all kind of activity in the road and stuff. Like, I'm just like, ugh, I just want to get home. I want to get home. My mom wants to make all these stops. She wants to stop at this. She wants to stop at a gas station. She wants to stop at the bakery. I'm just like, please, let me just go home. So we stop at the gas station. I don't see a man pull up and he's outside in a plaid, older man, pull up in a truck and he's wearing a plaid shirt. I'm like, oh God, here we go. Right? So then, my mom comes out in the gas station. I said, what, let me come out and I thought this thought in my head. They can all hear my thoughts, everyone around. Remember with the neuromonitoring technology. I thought in my head, I really want to go in there and get something, I said, but my hands smell like saltfish because for lunch in the cafeteria, they had saltfish. I said, they're already coming with this false narrative and saltfish, y'all, if you're not familiar, I think you would be familiar with it. It's called salted cod in the States, right? In the islands, we use it to make like dishes and stuff, right? And it has a distinct smell. It's like when you eat fish. So they already have this false narrative that I smell bad. And even though it's a lie, I don't want to now go around people with my hands smelling like saltfish for there to be any sort of validity to the rumor. So that's why I purposely thought, dang, my hands smell like saltfish right now. Even when I sanitize it, I'm still smelling it on my hands. But I really want to go in there and get some snacks, because recently, I don't know what's going on. I've been craving sweets, like cookies, donuts, pie. I'm working out like crazy and I'm gaining weight. I've been working to gain weight. But I think opening up my appetite like that has created some sort of craving for sweets. I'm not even the kind that like sweets. Like throughout my 20s, I didn't even like sweets like that. Donuts, yes. I'm not gonna lie, I've always liked donuts. That's just a thing for me. But everything else, like sweets, I'm not a person that likes sweets like that. But recently, I've been craving sweets like crazy. So I've been wanting donuts, I've been wanting pie, I've been wanting ice cream and all those type of stuff like that. And I've been gaining a lot of weight too. Remember, I've been purposely, intentionally trying to gain weight as a bulk with my bodybuilding. I'm at 190 now, y'all. Like, I'm really doing the damn thing. But at the same time, I'm kind of deviating away from a healthy lifestyle now. And I need to get back on track. So I've been slipping up and having a lot of cheat days and eating a lot of junk. And so, it was a bad day and sweets make me feel good. I'm like, I had a bad day today. I want some cookies. I want some ice cream and I want to go home. So I thought I'm going to go in there and get some snacks. So I roll up the windows and stuff. And, as I'm heading in, obviously the dude that was standing by the door heard that I was coming. He heard my thoughts. His back was to me. It was some young looking dude. Looked like he's in his 20s. Short, kind of short. I don't know, he's standing there by the door. And I'm mentioning that because that might be the tiff with me. I always try to figure out why someone's attacking me. I always try to figure out what the tiff is. He knew I was coming because he didn't even turn around to look and see me. He just knew and opened the door right as I reached up to the door. I was like, damn. He was leaning up against the door. He wasn't even looking out at me. But I think he heard my thought that I was coming. Because I was thinking as I was going into the door. So he turned around, he opened the door for me. So I said thank you and I walked in and I went around the shelves. He couldn't see me. I had my mask on, I had my shades on. But they all know how I look. They know who I am. Everyone knows who I am. So he going, damn. He said, you're a correction officer? He said, what? And now I'm copying the accent again, just being an asshole because they saw the attack that happened in the jail that day. So remember I told you the people that are involved in a negative way that like to gang stalk, they feed off of days like that. So he felt the need to now have some sort of conversation with innuendo and be an asshole. So he was like, what? He said, I want to get arrested now too. He said, that's what we got going on in the jail? He'd said all kind of stupid, dumb, retarded stuff. I wasn't even listening to him. I had a horrible day. I'm already going in there to stuff my face with junk because I'm in a bad mood and I'm PMSing. Now I got to deal with you and your big mouth. I'm just like, leave me alone, man. Just leave. I don't want to hear your mouth right now. Going on and on and on. He can't, I'm already around, done left the man standing by the door talking to himself. I went around the shelf looking for stuff. He's running his mouth. What? That's what they have in a jail? What? I need to get arrested, man. I need to get myself arrested for real. But this and that, saying stupid, dumb shit. My mom was like, oh, that's my daughter, by the way. You could tell this guy's being an asshole. I don't even know why she was answering him. She was like, yeah, that's my daughter. Da-da-da-da. And then he said, what? Why I got arrested, man? I need to go over there to the jail so she could deal up with me. This and that. Say no kind of stupidness. And so then he said, nah, man, I'm just talking shit. This is what he's like, I'm just talking shit. And then he walks out the door. I'm like, you stupid clown. Could you please go about your business before I flip out on you? Because this ain't work. And you could get this work. This is how I felt. But I'm like, let me chill and not have these reactions. Get the snack, Sharifa. Go to the car. Go home. Go home. Because I was about to tear into him. I said, don't do it. Do not do it. So I get in the car. He's lucky, yo, because I was really at the pinnacle. I was right there to tear him a new one. I said, don't do it, Sharifa. So we got to the car. My mom and I want to stop at the bakery. I'm like, oh my God, can we get home? Please. Oh, wait a minute. Before we leave the gas station, now to, of course, another gang stalker that's feeding off of the energy of the type of day I'm having. This lady that looked a hot mess, and I'm sorry if I sound like a bitch. She was being a bitch too, so I really don't care. Pull up looking a hot ass mess, wearing a bonnet and a red shirt, clearly gang stalking. As soon as I'm leaving through the door, she's guzzling a bottle of water and looking at me like this, thirstily, guzzling the water, trying to get my attention. Here's the irony of it all, right? Insinuating thirst, and ironically being thirsty her damn self, trying to get attention from the target. Guzzling water. So I said something nasty in my head about her. I'm not going to repeat it because I was really at that pinnacle. It was reactive abuse and a day full of just nonstop shit. And I got in the car and I said, let me get home because the gang stalkers are turned up. Today was a win for them. For them, obviously, it was a bad day for me and a good day for them. I said, let me get home, right? So finally, after my mom stopped at the bakery, nothing crazy happened there, thank the Most High. Because I think I thought a thought that made them calm down. I said, this is really a wicked spirit on some of these gang stalkers, you know? Because as soon as I have a bad day, they're ready to attack and celebrate. I said, this is really some demonic shit, man. So, that's it, y'all, basically. I was able to successfully get home, thank the Most High, and I controlled my reactions. You know, I'm not going to have any adverse reaction at work. I'm going to deal with everything professionally. But once I leave work, if I've already had a full day, and then you don't have to be around me, you don't have to say anything to me, you're forcing a point to mess with me. Whatever you get, you get. If I say something real nasty and forward, because I've had a day full of shit and crap, and now you're on top of me and I'm PMSing too. Whatever you get, you get. Anyways, I finally got home. Thank the Most High. And that's it. You know, there's something else I forgot to mention with that detainee that came in that let me know for sure it was theater. Another thing he said was, damn, and I'm having trouble remembering. Like, my memory's messed up. You know, I've been drinking so much, my memory's messed up. But it'll come back to me, though. It'll come back to me. All of that was what let me know that shit was theater. I forgot to mention that's a big, important part. Because remember, they like to lie and paint a false narrative that supposedly I got drunk and something happened that I don't remember. Mind you, the years when my alcoholism and blackouts were happening, evil, wicked lies, right? The most I gonna deal with it. Anyway, the years when I was blacking out and getting blackout drunk, I made sure to say this in several of my videos, my story never changes, I wasn't around any children. I wasn't around my nieces or nephews. When I started getting blackout drunk was after I had moved back home from living in Tallahassee. And that was also when the rape happened too, by the way. Listen to all of my stories. My story never changes. They're fabricating shit because they don't like me. Wickedness. But anyways, that's never happened. Thank the Most High. What did happen was I blacked out and I woke up and this dude was doing whatever to me, having a field day. So anyways, y'all, that's it. Story done. And you know, the video's finished. And the reason I started getting so thing with it was because I heard noise campaign in the background. They know full well what the story really is, but just painting false stuff to be spiteful. But anyways, y'all. So I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out.